Welcome to another edition of our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight. We are talking today with Wendy Corona with WSB TV. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Good to see you. So,
Mitch, I'm glad we could set aside the time to do this. I know we've been wanting to, so thank you.
I know. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's fun. I am trying to talk to a good variety of different kinds of media, different people in media, different levels, different jobs, just to kind of show all the different folks that are out there. And I know you guys are working your butts off trying to get everything done with everything that's going on. So I appreciate your taking a couple of minutes to do this.
Happy to.
Yeah. So
you know what? I'm going to have these things dinging. Let me shut this out. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because otherwise, okay.
Yeah, mine is probably going to do that too. So let's start with just a little bit of, tell me about yourself. Tell me about kind of your background. I know with TV folks, Atlanta's usually not the first market they start in. So give me your trajectory.
I grew up on the West Coast in Southern California. My parents are immigrants from Mexico. So I am first generation USA, and went to the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. And never in my wildest dreams, I think, did I ever imagine that I would live in all the places that I've lived because of this career. So I left Los Angeles, and bear with me, this is way more stops than anyone should do.
Yeah.
Yuma, Arizona, El Paso, Texas, moved to Dallas to figure out what to do next, ended up in Orlando. From Orlando, went to Miami to Houston, Texas. After Houston, Texas, there was a break, then Dallas, Texas, then Atlanta, Georgia.
So how many, I wasn't counting.
Too many cities.
How many stops was that?
Too many stations.
Yeah.
Even too many homes. But wow, do you learn, right? You learn along that kind of a journey.
Yeah. It's funny. Do you feel like Atlanta's what are we, number 8 or number 9 now? Something like that?
We moved up. We're now number 7.
Are we 7 now? Okay.
We're now number 7. Yeah. And it's been really cool just to see, because I started out in a really, really small border town, truly. Yuma, Arizona is right there on the border of Arizona, California, and Mexico. And that was just kind of like a first job. Figure out how to do things and hopefully do it right. And it was a tough period of time for me personally. I'd never really lived out of state or away from home. I remember I had a 1-year contract to report. I was reporting Monday through Friday. And then I signed a 6-month lease with the apartment that I moved into. And that was my goal. I'm going to try to get out of here in 6 months. 5.5 months in, Mitch.
Yeah.
El Paso. I made it. I went to El Paso, Texas, and that was a fun city. That was a fun little town. Good people there.
Yeah.
And it was good. So I've done it all, from reporting, anchoring hybrid, morning anchoring, evening anchoring, all of it. But at the core of it, I think of what we all do is the reporting aspect. So I'm so grateful that I was able to go in as start as a Monday through Friday reporter and just really get to work on that. Same thing in El Paso, reporting Monday through Friday. And then by the time I left there, I was doing some anchoring there too. Orlando, same thing, hybrid, reporting and anchoring. And so I think you really get the gist of what it is that a journalist does when you can get that reporting aspect, down. And you get to meet so many people, and you get to go so many different places. It's funny, even just like with my kids now, we'll be driving around and I'll be like, oh, I remember what happened there. Or what happened over here. It's like a constant tour, but I'm just so grateful for it all.
Yeah, my wife was at Channel 5 for a while, and she still refers to map pages. Oh, you don't want to go to map page 17. That kind of thing.
Page 17, bad news.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly. And I'm just like, where is 17? She's like, yeah, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later, you don't know.
Back in those days when we used those, what was it, the Thomas Guide maps?
Right. You had the big atlas, and the reporter would be like giving directions while the photographer was driving.
And now it's like it's all right here. Yeah.
Right. So you get somebody talking to you and telling you, go to map page 17.
Make this turn.
Yeah. So now you're anchoring. So let's talk about what your schedule and duties are now at WSB.
When I started here at WSB, I was the weekend anchor. So I was reporting 3 days a week and anchoring Saturday, Sunday evening, 6 and 11, which was awesome because I really got to learn the city, know the city, and get to work, with the photographers and how the machine that is WSB works. So that was a fantastic entry to the station and to Atlanta. Now, for a few years now, I've been the 4 o'clock anchor, Monday through Friday. So no more weekends, which is fabulous with the kids. And it's a dayside schedule. So we start our day at about 9:15 on an editorial meeting, what we're going to do, what we're going to cover for the day. And then after that, I go out and I still report. So even though I'm an anchor at the station, I still report. So right now doing everything remotely, just the way that we're talking now is how I'll do the interviews too, which is, fabulous. It's comfortable for the person that you're interviewing, and it's comfortable for me because I've got high school, 10th grade upstairs over here, and I've got elementary school, 4th grade up over here. So we're all kind of working and getting our job done, handling our business. And it's been interesting this 2020, as everyone knows, it's just been a different kind of beast. But I almost feel like it has really awakened us as to how else we can do business. It's not necessarily always the fact that we got to jump in a truck and go to a place. Now we're seeing there is the viability of just hopping online and having the person be available to you. And more so in a last minute notice instead of having to count in for all that travel time that we would typically do.
Yeah, so, no, exactly. Yeah,
there's some pros to how we do things now. Definitely cons too, but.
Yeah, I mean, I had one client where we were meeting in person every other week, and it was good to be able to do that, but it's 30 minutes each way to get there. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of that efficiency of time kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So instead of having to, get dressed and get in the car and drive and worry about whether traffic is going to let you get there in 30 minutes or whether it's going to take 45, when you click on
seeing I'm still seeing you. We're still connecting in some kind of way. I was telling some of the folks that I've interviewed here, like over the past months, when all this is said and done, if we ever get to that point, I said, I want to go on like a meet and greet tour. All the people that I interviewed remotely, I'd just like to go meet you in person, face to face, maybe even shake your hand, nothing that we're doing now, but I miss that connection in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been in, and you probably have, you've been in the newsroom, but I haven't been in a newsroom, and I'm trying to think, February was the last time I was in a newsroom, which, we're usually in a newsroom once or twice a month with some client or other. And I mean, not that it's slowed us down, but because it's all this now. Mm-hmm. And a lot of reporters have picked up the technology really quick. I did have another reporter the other day that I was teaching how to use certain aspects of Zoom, and he said, yeah, just never really had to do this yet in the last couple of months. And I said, okay, learning something new today.
Every day we're learning something.
Yeah. So obviously the reporting has changed in terms of getting out there. I mean, are you still out there in the field a little bit doing interviews at all? Not at all.
No, I'm really not. No, I'm gathering all of my interviews remotely. And I'm pretty much like a one-person show over here because the reporters who really are out there on the streets are the ones who need the photographers out working with them.
Right.
So I gather my elements, and I, for the most part, work directly with the editors at the station to find video, piece video. Sometimes I'm even shooting the video at home, or out and about wherever I might be. and sending that in. Yeah, sending an iPhone video and using that kind of video for the stories. So it's been an interesting shift, but we're making it work, best we can do.
Yeah. Well, and there's still a lot out there to do.
Yeah.
And you have also, I think you were doing kind of a little bit of a niche focus we talked a couple months ago.
That's right. So we've all kind of been given beats, and it's not that you're necessarily on that topic every day, but for the most part, that's the topic that we want you to kind of stay on top of. I've gone from good news, which was really fun because there's always, the good news stories to tell. Believe it or not, they are out there. Yeah. And we do tell them every now and again. But that was short-lived. And then now what I'm on is really just looking at the COVID numbers. And it's not necessarily a daily thing because I'm not going to, you would get sick of it if, okay, we were at 306,000 today.
Right.
And the next day we're like 306,500. So it's like when we see the increases or something significant there, we really want to hone in on that. But I've just really been covering COVID, like so many of, my colleagues. Some are truly on news of the day and covering what comes, because stuff still comes up. And that's kind of filtered itself back into our newscast too, because I remember there was a time when every single reporter, every person, that was what they were talking about. But that has changed as, time has passed.
Well, and I think as viewers too, you kind of want to see something else. Otherwise, there's
burnout. So many people burned out. And I hear that so often, Mitch, where people are like, oh, you're on the news. Oh, I just don't watch the news. It's just so depressing. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. So, where do you get your information from? And they always say a news source or a news outlet. So I'm like, well, then you still do get news. Like, don't act like you don't. So, especially in a time like now that we're living in, people need to be connected and need to be tied into what is happening around them. Because there's just so much on so many different fronts. And it's not just COVID. It's racial injustice. It's the social aspect of everything. It's social media and what it's doing to our kids. It's our kids with school online. There's so much. And you need to be tied into what's happening. Or else you're just going to feel too left behind.
Right. And I always tell folks kind of be smart about how they consume media, because people can be kind of caught in their own echo chamber in terms of just watching the same outlet every day. And it's like, okay, I'm stuck on this station. That's where I'm getting my news. But I don't think most people do that. I tend to bounce around between local news and CNN and CNBC and Fox just to kind of see what other people are saying. And sometimes it's just a matter of, oh my God, I can't believe what they're saying. And sometimes, it's
everywhere, right?
Well, yeah. There's a lot of that. Mm-hmm. So what I noticed the other day, you guys have a new feature called Gets Real. Tell me how that works.
Gets Real is really interesting. I think it really got sparked from one of our own just kind of internal meetings with all of our staff, where we started on one topic, and before you knew it, it was like just the emotion was coming out. I think a lot of times we bottle it in and we don't necessarily talk about certain things or share certain things because we've got to be, that voice of reason and calm and covering the news. But emotion just came out. And we realized at that point that there was so much more that we could be talking to and going into on a deeper level. And so Candace and her team there, People to People, they really have wrapped their arms around all of this. And you're going to notice here in the next couple of weeks that they're going to be rolling out a lot of these, get real kind of stories where we really talk, where we really just lay out the emotion as raw as it was on that day when we had that one video conference, and it was just coming from every square on the screen. I think it's needed right now at this time. We need that voice, and for people to feel connected to something.
Yeah, there's a lot of tough issues, and I just shot them off something about some stuff I'm doing with around the census, because that's so important. And with the election, I think people don't quite understand how important the census is too, because it
Yeah.
all interrelates. Okay, so are there some stories that you have kind of percolating in your head? You're thinking, I really want to do this story in the next week or month. Some things that are on your radar, topics that you want to cover.
Well, of course, there's all kinds of different levels of the COVID stories and how they affect people. Bigger picture stories, I don't know necessarily that I'm like ready to divulge all that.
Okay.
Just that I've been bouncing around, and it's funny because last week I went into the station and with one of my colleagues who was there, I said, I've got this story. I can't think of how to make it for TV. And we just started talking, and in 20 minutes I was doing my makeup, getting my makeup done, and he was standing right there next to me, and we were just talking, and I was like, that's pretty good, because sometimes you just need other heads, other minds to bounce things off of that are still in that news realm. And I promise you, there's like no one at the station other than the people who basically need to be there to present and put it on. And so it's hard to find those voices right now to be like, hey man, are you busy? Can I just pick your brain for a bit? I'm going to tell you about the conversation that I just had today. How can this be a story? So it's just really interesting that there's so much out there right now, Mitch, so much. And it's like, how do we translate it to TV? And I think that's really one of the things that Get Real is trying to do, is take those tough kind of subjects and find a way to make it relatable on TV for people.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've been doing this for 30 some odd years in Atlanta, and I can think of all kinds of stories that were such important stories, but they just didn't work for TV.
That's the catch, right? It's tough.
Right, because they didn't have the visuals, or you didn't have the right location or timing or something. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just got to tell clients, this is an awesome story, it's so important, but we got to do something different to make this work for TV. Right. Otherwise, this is a 10-second anchor reading, and then you're done. How do you make it? How do you make it bigger? And I'm a big fan of longer form programming.
Sure.
On the radio side and on the TV side, to get into a deeper conversation about an issue other than, something beyond 60 seconds of saying, here's what this is, boom, 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 and then you're out to the weather, right? So
it's wild. I came here to Atlanta, and it was, and you have a minute and 15 seconds to tell your story. I was like, huh? Right. I'm just getting started. Are you kidding me? Like that was just so tight to me. But it's crazy just how time goes, and you find that if a local story you can tell in a minute 15 seconds, a minute 20, you can do. But I was coming from Dallas, Texas, where the first an NPPA type shop where the photographers, the intro to your story for the first 5 to 8 seconds would be the birds chirping and the branch on the tree, and then you get to the bird that's chirping, and that just always setting a scene. The storytelling there was so beautiful at that station. And then to hear where it's just go, go, go. And I get it. We've got 3 hours of news to fill. We got a lot of stories to tell.
But you guys you're doing like on your 11 o'clock, I know those are longer form stories very often, right?
Yeah, they are. They do a lot more talk back opportunities too, with different professionals that they can get, experts throughout the day to help us flesh out what it is that we're trying to help people at home understand. So that's a nice deep dive also. And it's really on the news of the day, not necessarily covering, everything, but finding something that they can really pinpoint.
Have you found that the viewer patterns have shifted, morning versus evening versus lunchtime or anything like that?
I think that the shift has truly been felt more in the morning because, we're at home. We're not getting up as early as we used to run all the kids to school and get to work and do all that. So I think that the mornings has felt that some. it's the same thing like what happened in the summertime when you don't have the folks that are getting up to get going and go to school, get the family, on their way. You see that dip in the summer. Well, it's kind of continued.
And not as many people getting up and needing to see what the traffic is at 4:30 in the morning, right?
Yeah, it's different. It's just a different time right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff. Okay, so what's the coolest thing about Wendy? Honestly, this is the hardest question I ask people. Like, nothing. Coolest thing. So what's the coolest thing about Wendy?
Gosh, man, I can't even tell you.
What would your kids say the coolest thing about Wendy is?
They say I'm a fun mom.
There you go.
They say you're a fun mom. You always have an idea, something to do. So I hate just kind of sitting around. Now, granted, my children love to just hang out at home. But me, I'm like, it's the weekend. Having worked so many weekends, it's the weekend, yo. Get up, let's go do something. And so I think we do a really nice job. And I'll say we because it's all of us together with figuring out like, what's the fun thing happening? What can we go do? How can we explore, get to know a different place, or, just get out there. So I think they sometimes probably wish I had less planning in my life.
That's all right. That's right. Okay. The last book that you read that you want to admit publicly.
Oh, so my son had this book that he had to get for school, and it's called The Other Wes Moore. Wes Moore was the last name, Moore. And because I didn't think that he would read it, I got myself a copy too and read it. And I knocked that book out in probably 2 days. It was so interesting. So yeah, I'm reading high school level books.
That's all right. Sometimes that's all right. I've done that.
Yeah, it was so interesting. Here's the premise. 2 guys with the same name who live not far at all away from one another, growing up in the same part of town, and have complete different trajectories in life. What causes that? The social aspect, the people around them, all that. It was so interesting. It was really neat. I had way more to say than my teenage son did, but that's just to be expected.
It gives you a point of conversation at dinner, right?
Oh yeah, it gives us something to talk about. Like I really have to inject myself into, what it is that the kids like and are into, is just so that I can, really be at their level with them. My son's got me watching anime, and I'm like, "Ooh, this is a good show." He's like, "Mom, I think you might like this one. This one's got a good storyline."
What are you watching? Which anime?
He's already watched it, but I'm watching one called Death Note.
Death Note. Okay, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, Death Note's good. I'm like, so how many seasons of this are there? Because I got my own stuff lined up too.
We do some work with MomoCon, which is a big convention, and they're big into anime. So my client has given me a list of, okay, you need to watch this, you need to watch this, you need to watch this. Some of them are remakes of things from when I was a kid. Yeah. Okay, so favorite Atlanta restaurant?
Lately, I've been going to this one quite a bit, and I just enjoy it every time. I've been going to Haven in Brookhaven quite a bit.
That is good. I do like that place.
I do like it. We was just at brunch there last week.
I was thinking I haven't been to Fat Matt's Rib Shack in a long time, so I think I may.
Ooh!
I know.
Yeah,
I haven't
there's
been there.
so many. We're so blessed here.
I know.
So fortunate.
All right, favorite guilty pleasure?
It's really calmed quite a bit.
All right.
But it used to be that on my way home, I would pass by a Chick-fil-A and I would pull into the drive-thru and I would get a chocolate chip cookie and I would pay cash and I would finish the cookie and then throw the trash away there and make it home like I never even had my little guilty pleasure.
So no one can track it on your credit card and say,
no one can track it.
Wendy's buying a lot of chocolate chip cookies.
She turned into Chick-fil-A, but I don't see her with a bag or anything.
Yeah, I must confess I have sometimes done that and thrown the bag away on the way home so my wife doesn't see it.
Yeah, I'm not alone.
Yeah. Okay, so favorite local getaway. What's a fun place you like to go? And you were saying you like to go places.
Yeah, we do. And we shake it up quite a bit. One place that we found was a whole lot of fun for everyone on so many levels was we went to Callaway Gardens. And that was cool because we could do all the outdoorsy, outside kind of things. And even just like staying there in your own little like cabin rental place, felt like we were camping, but not really. And every kid had a great time. So yeah. I think that's a good, safe bet. Yeah.
Have you done that nature safari that's right next to Callaway?
No, we haven't done that. There's so much to do. I'm telling you. I also just got a zoo membership. And we tried going, recently. That didn't work out. So now my daughter especially, is like, can we go this weekend then? So we're trying to like revisit and support and do all that. I had her reading The One and Only Ivan, and then she followed that book up with The One and Only Bob. I said, well, we got to go see the Ivan statue, we got to go visit. And next thing I know, I was buying a membership. So
that's good. Yeah, no, there's the safari thing is like it's a drive-through thing.
Animals like come into your window.
Yeah,
right? Like,
you got to use their cars, not your car, because they will lick your car up to death. But it's awesome. You get to buy some peanuts or something, and the giraffes and creatures will stick their heads through your windows.
Yeah, we haven't done that one yet, but that's on the list.
It's hilarious. Okay, so let's see. Last question, maybe. Favorite non-work hobby?
Oh, we love to hike. We love to get out there and hike. Yeah. Yeah. I think my dad instilled this in me. He was always, all about nature and getting out and doing something. He always had us, on trails, bike rides, hiking, doing all that. So that is my go-to. I really, really like that. And I remember when I first moved here, I was really nervous about going on bike rides. I was like, this is a death wish. There are no bike lanes there, all these hills, I'll never make it. But then the pandemic happened and we started just like getting out there on our bikes, and now we can't be stopped. Like, we're just all about the bike rides and the hikes. Bike and hike. That's what we do.
Is there a favorite place you found that you really love to hike?
We change it up, and we change it up quite often. With this pandemic, everyone's vacations have just kind of been thrown to the wayside. But we've planned some things where it's like we go places and we hike. So I was just in Maine, spent every day hiking out there at the Acadia National Forest. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That was gorgeous.
Yeah, we were thinking about going.
I was ready to move there. I was like, let's find a summer house. Like, let's do this.
Well, we were thinking about going.
Hands down, you gotta go.
But then they said you needed like a COVID test, like 72 hours before you went or something. And anyway. So
yeah, we played along with the rules and everything. No one asked us for it.
Yeah, well, I figured, but.
Yeah. But we're ready.
All right. So is there anything else we haven't talked about that you want to talk about in terms of things you're working on, or anything else like that we should mention? There is one thing that's been near to my heart for a number of years since I've been here in Atlanta. And it started just one day going out and covering the story of this school that was getting started. And the school is Cristo Rey Atlanta Jesuit High School. Yeah. And I'm sure you're familiar with it. Yeah. I'm on the board now. I ended up just covering it as a story and watching the school kind of get created. But now they've had, they've gone through a whole class of freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors. They've graduated them. Those kids have gone off to college. 100% of the students that graduate from Cristo Rey go on to college, to, 4-year institutions. This is such a generational shift for these families, what's happening there, because these are all children who are, for the most part, minority, and from homes where the income level is at or below poverty level. And these children are getting this college prep education, which is hardcore, but beyond that, they're teaming up each one of these students with the college work study partner, which is one of so many companies that are here in the metro that are basically bringing these students in as interns to work and learn alongside all of these professionals. Right. And to not only do that, but get comfortable, put themselves in a setting where perhaps they've never been invited into or knew anything about. And these kids, they start this school kind of timid, a little bit shy. By the time they graduate from this high school, it's the firm handshake. It's looking you straight in the eye. It's this level of confidence, this go-get-em kind of attitude.
And it's just so wonderful to see. I think about myself and my own family and how, you know, daughters of immigrants, and how we had no real, you know, shoot for the stars kind of mentality. And if someone doesn't help put that in their life and in their timeline, in their journey, how's that ever going to happen? And how are they ever going to become more? It takes a lot for someone to pull themselves out of a situation. And I think education is just the one thing that's truly going to give people a boost. And that's why I'm so pleased to really partner with the school and help them do that for so many families here. There was a friend of mine was here visiting, and she invited a friend of hers over. The lady is a nanny, and she was telling me all about her son. She's so proud of him, and he's at Notre Dame. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, her boy's at Notre Dame. You know, she's a nanny here in Buckhead, and awesome. Well, it wasn't until, you know, time went by that I learned her son graduated from Cristo Rey, got into Notre Dame, got the scholarships, is thriving there, and just has this whole new trajectory on life as to what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. And it just blows my mind, because Mom, you know, who was sitting here at my kitchen table, was like, thank God for all of that and all those good people who really supported him to be able to become more, to do more, to do better. So that's the one thing. You asked the question, and
yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad
that just comes top of mind to me, because it's just such a shift for these students, and then for their siblings who come after them, who go, you know what, I can do that too. And it just changes the whole mentality of everything in that.
So and I've had a couple of clients who have worked with Cristo Rey, where they've had them kind of doing the mentoring and the internships and whatnot. So I'm pretty familiar with the program. So what do they, and I can add some graphics and websites and stuff into the bottom here. What does Cristo Rey need? Do they need more companies to volunteer? Do they need
always?
Okay.
Always, because it's those companies that then say, hey, I'm going to bring on a team of students. It could be anywhere. A team is considered like 4 students. And what they do basically is they help subsidize the cost of what would almost be like a private school education. And then they also then give them that work experience. And yes, they need that. Absolutely. The more, you know, the work study partners that they can get, the better, because each class just keeps getting bigger, and you want to keep providing, you know, a great opportunity for these students. And there are some amazing, there's from law firms, engineering firms, you know, the Coca-Colas, the Turner Broadcastings, that are all involved in saying, hey, you know what, we're going to invest in our youth. And these kids, the school is in downtown Atlanta, but these kids come from all over and from far away, on the MARTA, on buses, getting dropped off by friends or whatever the case may be. I mean, right now it's all virtual, but just hearing their stories just blows my mind. And I think, man, that could have, you know, it just changes the way that people.
Yeah, I'm really glad you had a chance to talk about that. I really do feel like there's very often a perception with people who, I don't want to say come from privilege, but people who come from privilege, who come from a background where they've had a lot of opportunity, they look at people who don't and think, oh, if they just worked a little harder or tried a little harder, they could do better. But sometimes it's exactly what you're saying. It's someone giving them just a little bit of an opportunity, a little bit of help, to give them a little bit of a step up, because they don't have that in their family, or it's not in their family history. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I've worked for a long time.
And you know what, Mitch, I'll circle that back on a personal level. You know, I was going through high school and just thinking, you know, so what do I do next? And I grew up in a affluent area, but you know, my parents, immigrants, we didn't know. No one went to college.
Right.
And it was my boyfriend's dad who said, you know, he and his sister, his side of the family, they'd all gone to USC. And he asked me, he's like, Wendy, what's your plan for after? And I was like, I don't know, I guess go to community college, or I'm not sure. He's like, what do you mean you don't know? What do you want to do? And he started asking me questions. What do you want to do? What do you want to study? I said, well, I'd like to do journalism. He's like, well, USC has a great journalism school. You need to start thinking about that one. I was like, yeah, but it's so expensive. He's like, you know, there's scholarships out there. You know, there are grants out there. And it took, you know, a friend's dad to put it in my head. And then we go, you know, maybe he's onto something. It was someone who came from, you know, that privilege, who said to me, why are you thinking this for yourself?
Right.
Afterwards, I'm like, yeah, why am I not? You know, I can do it. Let's do it. And that ended up becoming, I was the first person in my family to go, both mom and dad's side, to go to college. After me, other sisters, cousins, other folks, it became the norm. So it just takes one. It takes one influence, and it takes another person to get it going. And then you're off to the races.
Well, we could have a whole nother conversation about the importance of giving back to the community, but that may be another, but I'm
another brief.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. We've been talking with Wendy Corona, WSB TV. Wendy, thank you for taking some time with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mitch. I appreciate it. Thank you.